All right, so thanks for joining for our Finding Time Stick to It Fitness portion in this 4-week program. Starting off, just kind of as a brief overview, we're going to talk a little bit about the current physical activity guidelines, a little bit about why fitness, why we should fitness, what's included in that, how we can substitute some activities in our schedule, make it a family affair. That's kind of integrating it into our home routine, home equipment, exercise, and then establishing a plan for ourselves. Again, as part of this program, or in general, if you ever want a personal exercise program, consultation, or check-in, that's kind of included in your $1 a day fee structure with the fitness center here. All right, so starting off with current physical activity guidelines. So the ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine, what experts say for cardio guidelines. When it comes to the time commitment, that's more for cardio, is going to be either 75 minutes of vigorous activity week and or a mix of 150 minutes of moderate activity. So that's, again, the cardiovascular goals. This doesn't have to be in one workout. This can be broken over the course of multiple days. So in 7 days, that could be for the 75 minutes of more with cardio. More doesn't always have to equal merrier. So if you have less time, you can get the same, if not more benefit from doing higher intensity, as if you have more time available to you, then you can get the same benefit if you do a little bit of a lighter intensity. And what I'll mention at the end, with programming, it truly comes down to what is consistent, what can be consistent within your routine, and how can you modify so that it can be a sustainable routine that you can do. So if you have less time available, you're going to want to go for more of those intense workouts. So for the 75 minutes a week, that could be 7 days a week of 11 minutes a day. Just 11 minutes, or 5 days a week, 15 minutes. If you do 3 days, that's 25 minutes a day. So break it into what your schedule is best. Bottom line, move more wherever you can fit it in. For a little bit more in-depth cardio guidelines, we're going to kind of breeze through that just a little bit. If we have time at the end, we can always come back. Feel free to take a picture of some of these guideline slides if you feel it's going to be more helpful to you. But intensity. So that moderate is going to be activities that increase your heart rate, but they also allow conversation. So brisk walking, whether that's with a friend or in the office or a little a pad underneath the desk. Vigorous is going to be activities that make it difficult to talk, such as running, HIIT workouts, more of those advanced cardio sessions. For your duration, aim for a minimum of 10 minutes per session, but longer sessions can be more advanced for your fitness level or for weight loss. And if weight loss is a goal, you're going to want to try to target around 300 minutes of activity. This can be included between kind of cardio and strength, but otherwise 300 minutes is going to be what people should strive for if weight loss is a goal. For your intensity, just like physical activity with strength, cardio is the same way. You can work up to it. You don't have to expect yourself to work at 100% of your heart rate. That's actually not really recommended, but slowly work up with that progression over time. And you can use a talk test. So think about if you can talk, that's probably between around 50 to 85% of your max heart rate. As soon as you get closer to 75 plus, you're probably not going to be able to talk much more. Main types of cardio, you have more lower impact, walking, swimming, cycling, elliptical, higher impact, running, more stomping motions, jump rope, things a little bit more impactful on the knees, on the joints. And then a mix of cardio, kind of interval training. It's kind of a mix of high end or low intensity, depending on what your goals are. Progression, just kind of mentioned this, gradually increase the duration, intensity, or frequency as you improve your cardiovascular goals or your fitness level. And recovery, just like strength, it's going to be important that you include rest days. These could be more lower intensity activities for recovery. So it's still recommended to move every day, but then what we're doing on days does matter. Someone mentioned in the chat, oh, sorry, no, 300 minutes is not a day. Sorry, that's 300 minutes over the course of a week is what's recommended for weight loss. Otherwise, it is just 75 minutes a week or 150 minutes of moderate. So 75 vigorous, 150 moderate, or if weight loss is a goal, it's 300 minutes over the course of your week. So just think increase activity. For your heart rate or rate of perceived exertion, aside from the talk test, truly figuring out the rate our heart rate is kind of beating is the way to determine our intensity. So One method to find your max heart rate is going to be 220 minus your age. This gives an average prediction of your max heart rate. From here, then you can kind of find out the percentage of what your max heart rate. Well, once you have your max heart rate, you can figure out the percentage that you are working depending on what level of intensity you want. 60% of your max heart rate is going to be on the lower end, and 80% of your max heart rate is going to be on that higher end. So again, and then RPE, or rate of perceived exertion, is just a way you can kind of self-measure your own intensity based on how hard you feel like your body is working. So that's a number multiplied by 10. For what experts say, again, for the ACSM, for strength guidelines, the frequency, you want to try to strive for 2 to 3 days a week for hitting each major muscle group. And those sessions can be somewhere between 20 to 120 minutes long for strength workouts. Now, a little bit more in-depth strength guidelines for intensity. You want to try to choose weights that are within the rep range of intensity for 8 to 12 repetitions, near fatigue at the end of that rep range. You want to gradually increase your weights over time. And I do want to stress this, the last repetition should be difficult to complete. Now, depending on what your goals are, you don't have to reach complete failure every workout or at all. And if you want to talk a little bit more about this, I'd be happy to set up some time to talk with you one-on-one. But it should be challenging. So instead of just stopping at that 12th repetition, could I do 13? Could I do 14? Great. If I can get up that higher, I probably can go up in weight just a little bit. It's critical to listen to your body, focus on the form, but after that, you do want to be increasing the weight gradually over time. For those weight increases, it doesn't have to be, so if you go into a standard fitness center, usually the weights are going to go up somewhere between 10 to 20 pounds on the machines. I'm not talking about a jump that big. We're talking about 2.5 to 5 pounds. So like here in the fitness center or at public or the commercial gyms, they're going to have weight clips typically on the machines or around the gym so you can add on top of the weight like we do here. So if 10 pounds is too big of a jump, as you find that intensity range, you just go up a fraction of that, 2.5 pounds or 5 pounds once you kind of reach the higher end of your rep range. And that's dependent by your goal. For your sets and reps, it's recommended that you perform 2 to 4 sets per exercise, and then somewhere between 8 to 12 repetitions for strength, 12 to 20 repetitions for endurance. We'll go over a little bit more on the next slide on this. The types of exercises, you're going to want to try to perform between 8 to 10 multi-joint exercises that stress all major muscle groups. And this all depends on your programming of how that gets laid out. For your rest and recovery, this again pertains to your goal, but resting somewhere between 30 seconds to a minute and a half between exercises, and then allow for 48 to 72 hours to rest each major muscle group after the session prior. Now, if you're focused a little bit more on endurance, more of that HIIT style workout or 12 plus repetitions, then it's okay to implement a little bit more kind of cut back on that rest time, but it all depends on your intensity. Safe bet though, just rest around 48 hours before. The technique, your proper form is a pinnacle foundation. It's also important to make sure you have a warm up beforehand, which is more dynamic movements, and then a cool down after your workouts. And then it's important to track your training and to try to make progress over time. So consistently trying to increase the weights. And that's why working with someone like me can be helpful. If you kind of hit that plateau, you've been at the same weights for a couple weeks or a couple months, then we might need to switch things up just a little bit or take a look at your intensity or your form. We're not going to talk too much about this slide, but if we have time at the end, I do want to come back. Major takeaways. So this is the main breakdown of strength training. There's 3 kind of main forms: endurance training, hypertrophy training, or kind of maximizing muscle growth. I wrote true strength because strength is kind of a variety of all of this. And then I have my kind of personal or general recommendations. For the sets are all going to be the same, between 2 to 6 sets for each exercise. The rep ranges is where it's going to determine what your goals are. If you want to focus on muscle endurance, that's going to be 12 plus 12 to 16 or up for repetitions. Hypertrophy, or maximizing the growth of lean muscle mass, is going to be somewhere between 7 to 10 reps. Again, with all of these, that ending rep is going to be near complete fatigue. That's where we're going to see the most progress towards our goal, whatever that is. For the true strength, now I usually don't prescribe or recommend this unless you're a little bit more advanced, but between 1 to 6 repetitions, again, leading to close to complete fatigue at the end. That's a little bit more for advanced. And then rest period. If you're focusing on endurance, you want less time for your muscles to rest. So 30 seconds or less, more of that HIIT style. If you want to focus on hypertrophy, that's 1 to 3 minutes of resting between every set. Again, with that last set being pretty challenging, close to fatigue, or the last rep, sorry. And then our true strength is going to be even longer. So if you see someone just kind of sitting around in the gym, you're like, what are you doing? They might be focusing on their more quote unquote true strength or maximizing muscle fiber recruitment. And that's going to be around 2 to 5 minutes because you want your entire central nervous system to recover beforehand. For days a week is more based on your fitness level. So less about what your exercise goals are, more fitness level. If you're a beginner, 2 to 3 days a week of non-consistent days working out. Intermediate, 3 to 4 days a week. These can go back to back, and advanced can be all the way between 5 to 7 days a week. And if you're doing that, then obviously, depending on your programming, you will indeed be doing strength training every day or have minimal rest in between. And that's just about how you program to make sure it functions properly. My general recommendation for everyone starting out is somewhere between 2 to 6 sets of 6 to 12 repetitions. I typically like to recommend 10 to 12 starting out, and then resting somewhere between 45 seconds to 90 seconds or 2 minutes between every set. All right, balance and stretching. The other mix of functional movement is going to be, so we have our cardio, we have our strength, then balance and stretching is going to be important as well. For stretching, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, dynamics should be incorporated before workouts. This is going to be to warm up the muscle groups. Think any dynamic-based movement, leg swings, arm circles, shoulder rolls. There's a lot of other ones, but those are kind of the standard ones I say here. Static stretching is going to be what's implemented after a workout. So you're holding a position for 15 to 60 seconds, and this is mainly what's used to improve your flexibility. So I think dynamic is injury prevention to warm up those muscles. Static is more to increase our mobility or flexibility over time. The frequency, you can aim to stretch every muscle group 2 to 3 times per week, or daily stretching is beneficial for flexibility. So pretty much the more the merrier for stretching. You can overhold static stretches. So always listen to your body. Don't force your body into a position it does not want to be in. But implementing some form of stretching daily is very beneficial, especially to increase or maintain our flexibility, especially as we age. For those durations, we're holding the static stretches for 15 to 30 seconds. You can repeat that 2 to 4 times for each major muscle group. And for more focus areas, pay attention to tight areas. Usually these are going to be hamstrings, hip flexors, shoulders, lower back. Take it easy on those areas, but also it's good to kind of push through. Mild discomfort is okay. Stress and pain, not so much. So avoid that. Your body will tell you when you're going a little bit too deep or in a position it does not want to be in. Listen to your body. Otherwise, breathing is also going to be important as well. So slow, dedicated, deep breaths to focus on any stretch and kind of be more in tune with our body. Yep, as I have mentioned here, stretch to a point of mild discomfort, not pain. All right, so why fitness? Everyone says, well, you need to work out, but why? So working out is going to help decrease our risk of coronary artery disease. It's going to decrease our risk of stroke, colon cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety, depression. When we exercise, it's going to decrease our cortisol or our stress hormone, which has high cortisol or stress hormone has a lot of negative effects on the body. So it's good to have less of that. And it's overall healthy for us. Some of the more positive benefits, it's going to help increase. And so everyone can benefit from being more active, no matter how old you are or how unfit you feel or how long you've been inactive. Research shows that starting a more active lifestyle now through regular moderated intensity activity is going to help you lead and then live a healthier, more improved quality of life later on. It's never too late to get started, regardless of where you're at or what you've been through. You always can find a plan or routine that works best for you, or again, work with someone to develop that. But it's going to overall increase our energy, our aerobic capacity, improve our sleep, our self-esteem, our mood control. It's going to help our ability to move, to function, to control our body weight, It's going to help contribute to keeping our bones healthy as well as our muscles and joints. And it's associated with fewer hospitalizations, physician visits, and medications based off just implementing more of a active lifestyle. All right, moving to substitutions. Life has we like to be comfortable, and that makes sense. I like to be comfortable as well. And people sometimes being over comfortable, it's hard to get out of our comfortable zone, and working out, as it sounds, is work. It is meant to be slightly uncomfortable. So what I just kind of want people to think about first is where are some areas within our life we might be able to add a little bit more activity, and that'll be a question we are going to come back to a little bit. But within our life, we spend a lot of time at work. So how many hours do you spend at work? This takes up a lot of your day. And during that time, are you going to be able to, well, could you then, kind of reframing your mindset, add in a little bit more activity? How would it feel if you moved a little bit more at work? You should try to move at least once every hour. I know some meetings get long, so a little bit even of shoulder shifting or light get up and down or light moving around our desk can be very beneficial to add just a little bit more movement into our schedule, into our day, which is going to help increase our productivity and increase our overall alertness. So some activity substitutions. You can do simple active things throughout the day. They don't all have to be at once, and you can still gain benefits of physical activity. So this works especially well on days where you don't just have 30 minutes free for dedicated movement. So you can take the same ideas and add them to your home life. So you can make housework or yard work or chores more of a workout, aerobic dishwasher. You have your toothbrush, tie that with leg raises or balance exercises. So it's just small things you can kind of add into your schedule here and there, but overall they add up over time. And so with some of these here on the list, instead of taking the elevator, I take the stairs. Maybe here within the office, I know with the 5 floors, that could be a lot. So just once a day, you start taking the stairs, and over time, you solely take the stairs. Or if we're going to a mall, maybe I try to take the stairs over the escalator. Instead of taking the shortest route, I know it's extremely cold out, so here in Minnesota, so it makes sense if you park a little bit closer to the building. But even there, outside when it is nicer weather, or if you can bundle up, try taking a longer walking route or park a little bit farther away. Instead of using the restroom on your floor, use a restroom on the floor below or above and take the stairs. Instead of sitting for phone calls, stand up. You can walk around a little bit. Instead of, or in addition to taking social media breaks, because you have to have self-care, whatever kind of is implemented into your schedule for that, but how can you make that a little bit more active? If it's lunch with a coworker, can you walk during that time? If you, again, park closer in the parking lot, can you park a little bit farther away? If you have a coffee break, can you walk to get coffee or walk during coffee? If you're sending an email within a building, can you walk to that person's desk instead? Little things add up over time. So being efficient isn't always the best thing for our health. We do spend a lot of time in our cars, even to get to a point to like where we're ordering coffee. We'll just kind of go through the drive-through or pick up prescriptions or dry cleaning. So instead, we could park the car a little farther away, walk in. So we're trying to find ways that are not so efficient. It seems like small things, but again, they add up. So getting out of the car to order fast food, when we grocery shop, have dinner, go shopping, try to do it with as much movement as possible. Making it a family affair. So it is really beneficial if you can try to find a way to, well, being that we have family time, can we add fitness to that family time? So some sort of fitness family challenge, whether that's set individuals or set family goals. You can challenge the kids or your spouse to see who can get more steps each day or who can get more things done around the house. You can kind of make it a game. Use your phone, an app, a pedometer to measure activity. And it can be kind of a fun way to make it a family event or an evening or to celebrate activity or whoever got the highest X, Y, and Z over the course of the week. You can try to plan more active vacations. Whether that's skiing, snorkeling, canoeing, kayaking, biking, hiking, rock climbing, etc. Anything kind of works within your family's domain. Kids love to move. So remember that, when you couldn't wait for recess, or as a kid, you couldn't wait to finish dinner so you can go out and play. It's good for your health and for the kids if you're able to sometimes join them with some of the activity, or um, try to train with your kids if they have an upcoming sports event or 5K, or if you are tied to those basketball tournaments that take up multiple nights a week. Can we do movement at halftime, walking around the gym? It's small things that you can do either with your kid, or it sets a good example for them too. And good health for your kids. Being a little bit more active can also help with the prevalence of childhood obesity that's in the US, and that can kind of be from a lack of fitness, or fast foods is usually what larger portions is kind of the leading art in some of that childhood obesity. And then another way to kind of make it a family affair is joining an active league or teams or classes, whether that's martial arts, snowshoeing, volleyball, swimming, anything within community centers. There's a lot of active community activities, group fitness classes that you might be able to bring your families to. All right, 4, exercise at home. So if you have the ability to go into the fitness center, that's going to offer a lot more variety of equipment, but we still can get a sufficient workout and hit all our major muscle groups depending on how we program or the exercise we use with at-home equipment, or just no equipment, but just being at home. So some of the smaller, less expensive equipment is going to be DVDs, computer programs. YouTube is a free resource that has hundreds or thousands of videos of body weight exercises. One kind of things with these is they're not always customizable. So that's why working with someone more like me or a trainer can help kind of provide you with, know your health history, any injuries or surgeries you've had, and kind of make a program that's going to work a little bit best for you. But there's a lot of free or less expensive items like those free YouTube videos or other phone fitness apps. Otherwise, very cheap equipment, which you can do a lot with. Exercise bands, stability ball, jump rope, and just exercising with your body weight. For movements like exercise bands, you can get a full workout that's added resistance, and you add it to kind of modify our body weight movement, or just add a little bit more intensity. So again, thinking back to the exercise prescription, where we're looking at the repetition range depending on our goal. If we just have our body weight and bands, we still want to pick a band or pick a rep range that challenges us on that last repetition. Yes, otherwise, body weight, we can do a lot with that. For large equipment, if you have the ability at home to get something like a bike, a treadmill, an elliptical, a rower, that can be helpful. I see in the comment here someone mentioned giving someone an elliptical program for the Octane elliptical. I'd be happy to make that for you. On some equipment here, or looking at home, if you are able to purchase something, they can have built-in workouts with them. So here we have the Echelon bike, which is a corporate bike version of the Peloton, and that usually, while provided with a subscription, can bring exercise videos into your home. If you want a little bit more of a less expensive version, if you just have a bike that you use, seasonally, you can get kind of a back. You can prop the back wheel up, which adds a little bit of resistance, and you could attach your phone to the top, and that's kind of an at-home Peloton bike where you have access to free spin videos. But otherwise, even just get more equipment, like a small, if you have a standing desk at home, which that's a whole other topic between sitting and standing at work. But if you are able to add a little bit more movement or dedicated walks, whether it's in the morning, over your lunch, or in meetings where you have to be present, like this meeting here. Everyone here is just listening in, but you might not have much to contribute to the meeting, but you're looking for that information. We can try to do something active during that time. And for all these, please feel free to reach out if you want more fine-tuned programs or additional kind of equipment or how to use that equipment. I know we'll get into a program in a little bit. We won't specifically go over exercise selection, but I would be more than happy to talk with you about that. Strength training at home is very beneficial, and it can be very flexible. It's time efficient. You can use minimal to no equipment, again, using your body weight, free weight, stability balls, medicine balls, or resistance bands. It is even in a gym-free setting, you can still get your complete workout, and being at home, you can have it be carried out at any time during the day. And it doesn't have to be done all at once, so it's very flexible. So if you have 10, 15 minutes here, 10, 15 minutes there, that adds up. So in your busy schedule, and I know being kind of in it's very nice. Landlike is able to be kind of that hybrid schedule. So those days we are at home, how can we adjust our schedule a little bit so we can implement more movement and whatever that might look like, something during our lunch break, or if kind of it's part of our nightly plan to do something with the family in front of the TV, watching a show or watching a movie. Can we have a designated time where we stand up or at a commercial break and do some movement? All right, for making a plan. Now, I know we talked a lot about this for kind of our goal setting and some of the planning associated with that. So exercise is just one other way to make a plan and to incorporate that into our schedule. So starting out, it's important to kind of make a chart of how we spend our time. If we're able to identify those time robbers, so kind of checking our email. Now, I know we all have our work, we have our life responsibilities. But we also have kind of some things typically sprinkled in through our lives, which is more of those time robbers. So email, social media, times just scrolling on our phone, on the TV, or just listening to the radio. So how can we create a plan that manages these times, and how can we add in fitness to our life? And time robbers, they're not always bad, but sometimes they're not necessary for reaching or leading to a goal that we're wanting to strive for within our lives. So identifying those can be very helpful. And then I know we talked about this for our other webinar for setting our goals, but make it a SMART goal. A big part, which I was trying to hit home with our goals, is write down your why. For exercise, why is it important to me? Why do I want to implement this into my routine? What is the hope in the future? What can it bring into my life? Is there satisfaction around there? Knowing the why is really beneficial to kind of creating that goal and figuring out what's going to work best for you, and then how do you navigate that why into a written out plan. And then when you write it out, you can connect it to your physical emotion, your physical fitness, your emotional wellness, your mental wellness, because it's all going to be connected in there. And make it a SMART goal. We want to make sure that it's specific, it's measurable, it's relevant, it's time bound. So it should be SMART. What are we trying to achieve specifically? When do we want to achieve it by? Is this a realistic goal? Can it be completed? And then when will I complete it? Along with this, it's going to be important to create the steps, focus on brainstorming what barriers might be, and then finding additional support or finding ways we can kind of program already in ways we can get through those barriers if they do pop up. For planning out a workout, so this is kind of a specific strength workout, but this also can be for any form of exercise. I always recommend starting out with dynamic warm-up, dynamic mobility. So this can be movements that help prepare your bodies, your muscles for a workout. It's going to help get your heart rate up, increase your range of motion. So this could be walking, jogging, biking, bodyweight squats, walking lunges, jumping jacks, any rhythmic movement. It's going to help get the blood pumping. Moving into the main phase of your workout, if it's cardio, you just have your cardio. Typically, I recommend starting out a little bit slower, work that heart rate up to a higher intensity. Depending on your programming, this is where you could implement, is it a consistent, vigorous exercise session? Is it more of a moderate? Is it more of a HIIT interval? And that's where kind of your programming comes in. For more strength styles, you're going to want to start off with larger muscle groups and work to smaller muscle groups. So think of your main compound movements, multi-joint exercises. So that's going to be more of my chest exercises, my shoulder, my back, my legs. Those are my main compound movements, multi-joint exercise. So I'm going to perform a chest press before I perform a tricep push down, or I'm going to perform a mid row before I perform a bicep curls. Try to implement or bring in more joints before, and then work down to the smaller fine-tuned muscle groups. You want to make sure that in the duration of our workout plan, not necessarily the day, but we incorporate exercises for each major muscle group. Again, that's going to solely depend on your training program. Yes, you can program where I do maybe just one muscle group per day, depending on my schedule, or I can have a full body workout 2 to 3 times a week or even 4 times a week. That is totally fine. It all depends on your routine, what's going to work best for you, what you enjoy, and you want to make sure that that routine creates balance within your schedule. So that's kind of from our front to our back, our left to our right. Make sure it's balanced and make sure we're hitting all those major muscle groups. And then after the workout is completed, instead of just stopping, changing, going home, or moving on to the next thing in our life, try to have a little bit of time, again, 5 to 10 minutes, if able, to cool down. Ideally, I like to recommend whether that's 3 to 5 minutes on a piece of cardio equipment to kind of lower that heart rate down, or if we're already doing cardio, have a light slowdown period. After that, moving to more of the static stretching. So that's where we're holding exercises for extended periods of time, 15 to 60 seconds. If you have time, foam rolling as well. That's very beneficial and will help decrease your muscle fatigue, help increase or promotion of our blood flow to our muscles, help with our recovery. So foam rolling can be helpful and part of that cooling down time. All right, some additional tips. Well, before I kind of go through the list, morning workouts I do want to mention has numerous health benefits, including regulating our appetite, boosting our energy, and perhaps one of the biggest benefits is that in the AM, it can be time that we can dedicate or set aside, and then we're able to check off that exercise first thing through the day and then move on with our day. Now, not everyone's a morning riser, so find a time that can work in your day to implement exercise. If you currently know that your day, if you can't get exercise in and you've tried it, you can't even get the 10 to 15 minutes here and there, it just really isn't working, maybe consider getting up 30 minutes earlier. It might feel challenging, but that's where your priorities and your goals come into play. Yes, it's challenging to get up 30 minutes earlier, and is our current routine or current lifestyle supporting all of our health and wellness goals? We want to find a way to make it a normal part of our daily routine, like eating, like brushing our teeth. Exercise should be in an area that we put high within our life wellness routine, and that it should be something we consistently do. Again, there's a lot of varieties and ways we can implement that into our routine. It's also important to not overcommit. So it's okay to say no to taking on, more projects or tasks. The same is going to be for our exercise. Don't expect yourself to go from sedentary, moving 0 times a week, to, all right, I'm going to move 7 days a week. I'm going to hit 15,000 steps. We can definitely work up to that over time, but start with small steps. Don't overcommit. If we're currently implementing 1 day of movement, great. Can I add another? Can I make that a little bit longer? Or if we do still want to get some movement every day, light impact exercise might be what's beneficial for you to start out. So that could be, I now set a light step goal, or if I have my phone on me or a fitness tracker or a pedometer so I can check my steps, just see what your average steps are over the course of 2 weeks. And then after that, okay, I'm averaging 3,000 steps a day. Great. If that's my average, let's bump that up to 4. And then that's just our dedicated movement where we start out. Everything's a progression with programming. You have to make sure you program in a light that is going to be receptive to what you can commit yourself to. You want to also make sure that you continue to evaluate your life and health goals and revise them as need be. So if as life change, as our goals change, and maybe we have an event coming up that we want to do X, Y, and Z for, evaluate that, see what you're currently doing in your routine. Does it support the goals you put upon yourself? If it doesn't, well, then it's time for a slight modification. If you do, if you're already currently hitting all your goals, great. Then how can we strive to either set a new goal, or if we're doing all we can and not wanting to overcommit, excellent. We found the consistency that we need and just continue moving forward in that manner. We have to make sure that we are realistic with what we can do, what we can achieve with our exercise. Everybody starts somewhere. So regardless if you are nervous to come to a group fitness class or to go to a corporate fitness center because some of your coworkers or boss might be around there, everyone starts a different place. It's a very neutral, friendly zone where we all have our own health and wellness goals. We're all trying to work on something. And when you set your goals, be realistic to where you're at and the time it's going to take to achieve those goals. Help it can work. So please feel free to reach out and work with me to kind of establish, or if you want some help for kind of a timeline. But otherwise, always listen to your body and see when you can modify or increase intensity over time. Also, yes, it's a workout, but we can also try to make it more fun. We can try to make it more enjoyable. So If you really hate the stair stepper, you don't have to do the stair stepper. There's a lot of variety with exercise, and it's going to be important to find what works best for you or what you find the most enjoyable. You might not love exercise at all, but how can we find an exercise that is manageable? It's still reaching the general recommendations for our health goals. We're still striving and slowly reaching our health goals. We might not love it, but we might not hate it. That's what we're looking for. And part of that can be making it creative, just being resourceful. So if you know you don't like working out alone, well, is there exercise classes we can take? We offer exercise classes here in the fitness center, or is there some sort of virtual program you can join to kind of find a community to change up the exercises one way or another? And also with that, tying into being realistic, not overcommitting, setting your goals, is reward yourself for good behavior or reward yourself for being successful on your goals. It's not, yes, the benefit long term is going to be that we reach our health goals. We are supporting our health and wellness positively, but we also want to make sure that we reward ourselves for those little milestones as we get there. I know we spent a lot of time talking about this in our goal webinar last week. That's also up on the YouTube page if you want to rewatch that. But reward ourselves for those milestones, for the pillars that we set along the way, because we want to make sure that it's fun for us. Yes, it's still a challenge. It's meant to be a work, but finding a reward can make it just a little bit more sweeter or help us get there. And also with that is be forgiving to yourself. If you slip up, that's totally fine. Don't consider that a failure. Evaluate that. What caused it? What caused myself to slip up? And start again. You want to continue to recommit to your health and wellness. Be forgiving with yourself. Life happens, events happens. We might fall behind or off track. Reevaluate and try to keep moving forward. Lastly, I just want to share our current group fitness schedule. If you are in person, we do have classes on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and a single class on Thursday. So feel free to stop by. If you do want to join those classes, all of my classes are for any physical activity level. Regardless of where you're at, there's always modifications for classes. If you have an injury or surgery, you can't do specific movements, please let me know, and I'd be happy to help modify things in classes for you. The final takeaways from this presentation, I just want them to be move, move, move. Find a time you can implement movement into your schedule and try to move as much as possible, as frequently as possible.